Hi, so if you for any reason skipped some of the examples in the YouTube video before or weren't really paying attention before you try practicing on your own, I hope you go back and look. I think that he walks through them very clearly, very sequentially. I just wanted to go through one of the sphere problems before you try a few because I think that sphere is always the trickiest to use. It's going to be the trickiest to memorize. The first thing I did here, I have my image. And then it says volume equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. So the first thing I'm going to do is just remind myself that if it's 12 centimeters all the way across, my radius is really 6 centimeters. One thing that people tend to do when they first start working with volume is right away just enter a bunch of things into a calculator and press enter. What we really want to try to do is still utilize scrap paper, go step by step, because a lot of times it can help you catch a mistake. It can definitely help you memorize those formulas, and I also think that it just helps you try and approach things in the easiest way. So I'll explain what I mean in a second. So I'm going to just write down that volume equals 4/3, let's say, 4/3 pi, and instead of r to the third, I'm going to write 6 to the third. So when I was saying that we can make our lives easier, at this point, I know a lot of people are going to want to figure out what 4/3 is. They're going to have a non-terminating decimal. They're going to multiply by pi, which is an irrational number, and then they're going to try and cube something, and they might make a mistake. So what I would probably do next is just figure out what 6 to the third is. It's a manageable piece of the problem. Even though it's over at the end, I can approach this multiplication however I'd like. So I'm going to write down once again that volume is going to be 4/3 times pi. And using a calculator is fine. I'm going to figure out that 6 to the third is 216. Next up, since pi can be so messy, I'm going to figure out what's 4/3 of 216. In order to do this, again, use your calculator, it's fine. I'm going to take 216, I'm going to multiply by 4, and then divide by 3. So really easily working with that fraction, I figure out that 216 times 4 divided by 3 is 288. So now I have 288 pi. Let's see if I can finish this. 288 pi. And sometimes, and you might have seen this or noticed it on the Khan Academy, you'll see this given as a final answer. Volume equals 288 pi. This is called leaving a number in terms of pi. It avoids decimals, it avoids the round off. It's technically the most precise, but similar to when we discussed Pythagorean theorem, the most precise isn't necessarily the most useful. So most people are going to multiply by 3.14 to figure out an approximate volume that tells us how many cubic centimeters we're working with. So if I take my calculator again, let's say, if I take my calculator, I'm going to figure out that the volume, still erasing, the volume equals 288 times pi is approximately, so I could use the approximately symbol here if I wanted to. Volume is approximately 904.32. And since it's a unit of measure, I'm going to use the proper unit of measure in my answer, 904.32 centimeters cubed.